If you're going to write mysteries, you should be familiar with forensics procedures. You should be familiar with investigative procedures, not necessarily making it a procedural book, which is based around that, but knowing how this stuff is going to be done. If you're not, you've got two choices. There's the probably more dedicated choice of making sure you learn how to do all that stuff. Learn all the procedures, learn how they would do these things, learn what would happen, on the initial discovery of the body, how to detect clues, how you would investigate, how you would interview, and all these other things. And, of course, how you would evaluate the information and evidence that you collected. Or you could cheat a little bit and set it in a period or a situation where they don't have any of that stuff. You've got to be totally intuitive. You've got to investigate and evaluate on your own the powers of deduction. One of the things I've done is I have taken an outline for a book and I have set it in a time period where none of that happens. A lot of our forensic knowledge has come about since the mid-19th century. It began over in Britain with the formation of Scotland Yard and, the development of the bobbies and how they would interact with the people and how they would start, collecting evidence and analyzing crime scenes, especially once they came up with the new medium of photography. They could photograph crime scenes. They could do all this stuff. But prior to the 1800s, you didn't have any of that. So, I've got a new novel that I am now working on that is set in the early 1800s. This fellow has to not just track down a killer, but a serial killer. And he does not have the benefit of DNA labs. He does not have the benefit of our typical, CSI teams. Fingerprinting hadn't been discovered. He doesn't have microscopes. He can't analyze blood types. He has to use his own powers of deduction without tipping off whoever the killer is and potentially becoming the next victim. So you could say that's kind of cheating, but it leaves you with a whole new range of possibilities and challenges. Because one very simple fact that you need to realize when you are writing, or in fact, in life itself in general, every solution creates a new set of problems. I've solved my general inexperience with forensic procedures, but in the meantime, I still have to develop the powers of deductive reasoning. Analyze, evaluate the information, evaluate what evidence presents itself in a situation where people have not really thought in those methods, don't have that mindset, and don't necessarily make an environment or a situation that is conducive to successfully accomplishing that. I've jumped over the hurdle of technique, technology, and so forth, but I have managed to land square in the realm of evaluation, psychology, conclusions, and assessment. So I still have to find the killer. I still have to find the motive. I still have to make sure the bad guy gets caught. But even in trading off the forensic wherewithal that we have to do it today, I've also traded off the sympathetic lawman, the sympathetic authorities, the sympathetic system, the sympathetic attitudes that would assist and enable me and give me a framework to work on. In the early 1800s, you were dealing with the frontiers. There were no laws. It was pretty much everyone for themselves. but they were trying to build and establish a society, and a society based on laws. So I've got to figure out, how are they going to be standing in one world, and how are they going to be shaping the other? How are these two going to converge, and are they going to deviate? Like I said, every new solution creates a new set of problems. I wanted to get away from the CSI. Let's see what I've ended up getting myself into.